Lotteries often promise dreams of wealth and fortune, but what if there's a dark truth that lottery officials don't want you to know? In this eye-opening exploration, we uncover secrets that might make you think twice before buying that ticket. The dark truth. Lottery officials don't want you to know. Expiration date. Let's talk about something surprising. The expiration date on lottery tickets. We're used to seeing expiration dates on things like milk and meat, but did you know that lottery tickets also have them? Most people are unaware of this, even some lottery winners. Here's the deal. When you win the lottery, you usually have only 2 to 3 months to claim your prize. If you miss that deadline, your winnings either roll over to the next draw or go back to the lottery company. It's a use it or lose it situation. Now let's dive into a real-life story. There's a guy named Jimmy Smith, and he had a winning ticket worth a whopping $24.1 million. But there was a problem. He couldn't find his ticket. The New York Lotto was kind enough to put up posters warning that his time was running out. Thankfully, he found his ticket just 2 days before it was set to expire on May 23, 2017. Imagine losing $24.1 million because you couldn't find a piece of paper. This is why lottery companies go all out to let people know they've won. They spend a ton of money on advertising for winners who haven't claimed their prizes yet. So if you ever buy a lottery ticket, just make sure you keep track of it and cash it in on time. Here's the kicker. The biggest unclaimed prize ever was a jaw-dropping $1.5 billion. Somebody out there won the Mega Millions lottery jackpot, but they never came forward to claim it. It's hard to believe, right? Either Bill Gates is the mystery winner, or someone is missing out on a life-changing fortune because they forgot about their ticket. Illegal anonymity. Let's talk about something important when it comes to winning the lottery: keeping it a secret. If you ever hit the jackpot, the smart move is to keep it under wraps. Why? Because going public with your winnings can lead to a world of trouble. When you announce your lottery win, everyone seems to come out of the woodwork wanting a piece of your newfound fortune. Scammers, people with crazy lawsuits, and others looking for a handout can become a real headache. Now, in most countries, you can choose to remain anonymous if you win the lottery. It's a great way to protect your privacy and safety. However, in some US states, it's actually illegal to stay anonymous, and you must declare your winnings. State lawmakers argue that transparency is essential, but putting your personal details and how much money you've won out in the open can be risky. Here's a tragic example. In 2015, a man named Gregory Burt Jr. was brutally attacked and killed in his home. The criminals responsible found out about his lottery win through the media. Just a few months prior, Gregory had won a significant sum of money. His family was in the house when the attack happened. So, if you find yourself in one of those states where anonymity isn't an option, it's a good idea to invest in some serious security measures. Your safety and peace of mind are worth protecting, especially when it comes to a life-changing lottery win. The actual amount? Winning the lottery sounds like a dream come true. But when it comes to the actual amount you get to keep, there's a bit of a reality check. Even though you might win a substantial sum, there are quite a few deductions that take a bite out of your winnings. Let's break it down. If you win, let's say $1 million, you typically have a choice. You can either take it as a lump sum or in smaller installments. If you choose the lump sum, you'll get around 70 to 80% of that million, and then you'll have to pay a federal tax of 30%. In the USA, you might also have to pay state taxes, which can range from 5 to 10%. So from that initial million, you end up with about $480,000. Even if you opt for installments, you still have to pay taxes on each yearly installment. It means your prize is gradually eaten up by taxes. So if you win $1 billion, in reality, you'll end up with around $480 million. It's still a massive sum, but it's not quite what's advertised. Many lottery winners turn to professional financial planners and accountants to navigate these tax implications. It's essential to have a solid financial strategy in place to make the most of your winnings, as it's not as simple as just getting a giant check for the full amount. Lottery scammers. Winning the lottery can attract not only well-wishers, but also a fair share of scammers. These individuals can be pretty crafty, and their scams come in various forms. One common scam involves people approaching you with seemingly amazing investment opportunities, promising hefty returns. Unfortunately, many of these opportunities turn out to be either scams or bad investments, causing you to lose a significant portion of your winnings. But here's where it gets even worse. Sometimes the scammers are the very people selling you the lottery tickets. Take the case of Nabil and Jacob Pavan, who were arrested for scamming a lottery winner. These brothers owned a convenience store that sold lottery tickets. And when someone who bought a ticket in their New York store won $1 million, they deceitfully claimed it was only $1,000, trying to keep the remaining $999,000 for themselves. Thankfully, these scammers were caught and the rightful winner got their money. Then there's Ahmad Faragala, who sold what he called winning tickets. These tickets were fake and had already been claimed, leaving unsuspecting buyers in disbelief when they tried to cash in their supposed prize. According to law enforcement, Faragala made nearly $250,000 from this scam. To protect yourself from these scams, it's crucial to buy lottery tickets only from authorized and reputable retailers. Otherwise, you could find yourself falling victim to scammers who are eager to exploit your newfound fortune. Be cautious and stay informed to ensure your lottery winnings remain a source of joy and not a target for fraud, preying on the poor. The notion that the lottery can be seen as a poor person's tax does hold some merit. Research has shown that people who are struggling financially often play the lottery more frequently, hoping for a chance to escape poverty. This is backed by studies, including one from North Carolina, which found that the poorest counties consistently have the highest ticket sales for the lottery. Surprisingly, about 40% of all lottery players are living below the poverty line. The situation is exacerbated by the targeted advertising campaigns run by the lottery. These ads often depict individuals from lower income backgrounds who strike it rich and suddenly enjoy a life of luxury. While such stories occasionally happen, they are exceptionally rare. The reality is that the odds of winning big in the lottery are quite slim. Furthermore, it's troubling to note that lottery ticket sales tend to increase when unemployment rises. During the 2008 financial recession, while most industries struggled, the lottery saw record sales. This phenomenon suggests that lotteries can capitalize on the desperation and financial struggles of people who are looking for a way out. In essence, the lottery can provide a glimmer of hope for those in challenging financial situations, but it's essential to recognize that the odds of winning are very low. The lottery shouldn't be viewed as a reliable strategy for escaping poverty, and it's important for individuals to be aware of the risks and the fact that it's primarily a game of chance. The real odds of winning the lottery can be quite sobering. You're right. It's a common saying that getting struck by lightning is more likely than winning the lottery, and that's often true. The odds of winning a typical lottery where you need to pick 6 correct numbers out of a pool of 49 are usually around 1 in 14 million. To put that in perspective, if you were to buy one lottery ticket every week, it would take you approximately 300,000 years to have a reasonable chance of winning a jackpot. Now, when it comes to some of the larger and more popular lotteries, like the Mega Millions in the USA, the odds are even more daunting, typically around 1 in 176 million. So, unless you're feeling extraordinarily lucky, buying a lottery ticket may not be the most practical way to invest your money. To give you a sense of how slim your chances are, you're more likely to get struck by lightning, bitten by a shark, and hit by a meteorite, all combined, than to win the Mega Millions. So it's important to approach the lottery with a realistic understanding of the incredibly long odds involved. Lottery donations. The idea that lotteries significantly benefit schools can be a bit misleading. While lotteries often promote themselves as contributors to education, the reality is more complex. When lotteries allocate funds to education, it doesn't necessarily mean that the money is going directly to schools or directly benefiting students. In many cases, the money generated from lotteries goes into the state's general fund. From there, it can be used for various purposes, not exclusively for education. So, while it's true that lotteries generate revenue that states may use to fund education, There's no guarantee that the money will be specifically earmarked for improving schools or directly benefiting students. As Patrick Pierce, the political scientist you mentioned, pointed out, over time, a state may have invested more in education without relying on a lottery. In essence, while lotteries may contribute to state budgets and potentially indirectly support education, they don't always translate into a direct and significant boost for schools and students, as their marketing campaigns might suggest. It's essential for people to be aware of how lottery revenue is actually allocated within their state's budget to have a more accurate understanding of its impact on education. Scratch cards. Scratch-off cards can be a tempting way to try your luck, but it's crucial to understand that the odds of winning with these cards are often quite challenging, just like with traditional lotteries. The payout per dollar spent on scratch-offs is typically worse than the odds you face, and it can be especially discouraging with the more affordable $1 and $5 cards. The most popular and inexpensive scratch-offs often come with lower odds and less attractive winnings. Surprisingly, the more expensive $10 and $20 scratch-offs can have better odds and provide a higher return if you do win. Fewer people tend to buy the pricier cards, but they offer a better shot at winning and more significant potential winnings. It's essential to recognize that the cheaper scratch-off cards, particularly the $1 to $5 range, are often designed to keep players engaged. They might give you small wins like $1 to $5 to keep you coming back for more. The idea is to keep players hooked on playing, with the hope that they'll eventually try their luck on more expensive tickets. Given the challenging odds and the better returns offered by the pricier scratch-off cards, it might be more worthwhile to consider those if you decide to play. However, it's essential to remember that the odds are still generally not in your favor, and gambling should always be done responsibly, with the understanding that it's primarily a form of entertainment rather than a reliable way to make money. Downsides. And finally, on the list of Dark Truth Lottery don't want you to know, we have the downsides. You may think that if you win the lottery, your life will change forever. Well, this is no doubt the case, but it may not change for the good. We've already mentioned how one man lost his life after winning, but did you know that lotteries are also terrible for marriages? Many lottery-winning couples end in divorce within a few months of winning. Not only that, lottery winners get very, very depressed and bored easily. If you don't have to work for anything, then this gives you no reason to have any motivation or to do anything. Not only that, they lose a lot of their friends. Their friends will suddenly turn into leeches, trying to get as much money out of them as possible. Many lottery winners actually admitted they wish they never won at all. So before you go out and buy that Mega Millions ticket, give this a think. Will your life really be improved by winning the lottery, or will it be a big inconvenience? How this man won the lottery 14 times. So first off, who is this mystery man? Chances are you've probably never heard of him before. Well, this man named Stefan Mandel was born in Romania in the 1960s. At that time, Romania was under oppressive communist rule. In the country, there were not many jobs, not much food, and a lot of poverty. Stefan only earned $88 a month, and he had to support his wife and 2 kids with that. He quickly realized he needed to find a way to get some serious money and fast. Many of Stefan's friends turned to a life of crime to do this, but he saw another way out. Instead, he looked towards the lottery. All of his friends called him an idiot when he did this. He said he wanted to turn winning the lottery into a business, and to be honest, his friends were not wrong for doubting him. After all, you're more likely to win a gold Olympic medal than win the lottery. You are also more likely to get crushed by a vending machine, and you're 4 times more likely to get struck by lightning. But Stefan isn't just any old guy, he's the genius mathematician. That's right. He's said to be the first and only man in history to come up with a lottery formula. For years, he spent every minute analyzing theoretical probability. He studied mathematical papers dating back to the 13th century. After those years of research, he finally wrote a number-picking algorithm. He dubbed this method combinatorial condensation. Using this complex algorithm, he could predict 5 of the 6 winning numbers in the lottery every single time. This increased his chances of winning from 1 in a few million to 1 in a few thousand. He then took a big risk. He risked his own money by buying large blocks of lottery tickets with the combinations he thought were most likely. But what exactly was his 6-step formula? Well, first off, he would calculate the total number of possible combinations. On average, this was around 4 million combinations. He would then find lotteries where the jackpot is 3 or more times the number of possible combinations. For example, if there were 4 million combinations, he would need a $12 million jackpot to make it worth it. He would then try and raise enough cash to pay for each combination. He would do this using his own money and also investors. For his biggest lottery win, he actually gathered 2,524 investors. He would then print out millions of tickets with every combination. This actually used to be legal, but now you'd have to buy the tickets right from the store. He would then deliver those tickets to authorized lots, and then finally, he would win the cash. He wouldn't get to keep all the money himself, as he would have to pay his investors. Not only would he have to pay investors, he'd have to pay taxes too. That's why he did this method 14 times to get a lot of money for himself. Stefan did this all through the late 60s to the early 80s. Amazingly, he'd move around the world doing this. He began in Romania but quickly went to Australia, the USA, and the UK. That's because these countries have the highest lottery winnings, and they also had the strongest currencies. For example, the US dollar, the Australian dollar, and the pound sterling. But his biggest lottery win was his final one, and it was actually the lottery win that changed the lottery as we know it today. Firstly, Stefan set up a fake company named Pacific Financial Resources. He then collected 2,524 investors, each of them putting around $3,000 into this company. He then raised $5 million. He then rented a warehouse in Melbourne, Australia. It was there he set up 30 computers, 12 laser printers, and 16 full-time employees. Night and day, they would print out 7 million lottery tickets with each different combination. This took 3 months and 1 ton of paper. Then, in 1992, he invested that money into the Virginia lottery. Stefan morally supported every combination from his investors' money. The jackpot was $27 million, and he invested $5 million into it. As he expected, his method worked yet again, and he won the $27 million jackpot. And remember, $27 million in the late 90s was much more. In fact, it was closer to $35 million at the time. Some people dispute the fact that Stefan's method of printing tickets was entirely lawful at the time because he did pay for it. In fact, Virginia's state government interpreted this as an attempt to game the system. Due to this, Stefan was under investigation by 14 international law enforcement authorities for 4 years. The CIA, FBI, IRS, and NCAA are included in this. Eventually, though, he received payment for the prize, and after paying investors, he took home about $200,000 for himself. But because the rules had changed, Stefan never did this again. You can no longer print your own lottery tickets, as you are aware given the current legislation. You must instead go to the store and purchase them on your own. Consequently, purchasing tickets in such large quantities is all but impossible. There is no way to achieve this right now because Stefan printed millions of tickets, but no retailer will ever have millions of tickets. Due to the fact that every nation in the world modified the laws governing lotteries to ensure that this could never happen again, not even the world's top mathematicians could perform Stefan's method today. However, you might be wondering, where is this wealthy genius now? Today, Stefan resides on the island of Vanuatu, where he was born. The Australian coast is home to this little island. He resides in a beach house on a tropical island and has a pretty sedate life. It's astounding considering he's a multimillionaire. He went from residing in an underdeveloped communist nation to being a multimillionaire in just a few short years. According to Stefan, he is the one who takes calculated chances. Although he admitted to taking risks, he argued the odds were always in his favor. The allure of winning big is undeniable, but it's crucial to be informed about the hidden aspects of lotteries. We hope this glimpse into the dark truth behind lotteries sheds light on a world often shrouded in mystery. Remember, knowledge is power, even when it comes to games of chance.